Since times of old, man has sought to exploit everything that nature has to offer for his own personal gain. Thanks to technology, it is possible to achieve maximum production of meat and fish byproducts. In the Harinas de Andalucía factory, located in the Cádiz town of Tahivilla, Aresha Rendering has designed, manufactured, installed and commissioned the continuous processing plant with a capacity of 5 tons per hour of fish byproduct from southern Spain. Very high-quality fish meal and fat is produced here. Fish byproducts from ports, fish markets, fisheries and canneries are transformed into meal for animal feed and other purposes. Processing begins from the unloading of the trucks into crude oil hoppers. From these storage tanks, the byproduct is guided by a screw conveyor to a first stage of size reduction of the raw material. The cutting machine, which performs the pre-crushing of animal remains. The material obtained is sent to the crusher for a second phase. It allows the particle size to be reduced to less than 30 millimeters, as required by current regulations. Similarly, all the liquid accumulated in the bottom of the raw material hoppers is automatically driven by a pneumatic transport into the expansion hopper from the lamella pump through pipes. In this hopper, the mixture of this liquid and the processed byproduct is produced in the grinder and then feeds the lamella pump. From here, all the product obtained from that mixture is driven by that pipe quickly, cleanly, and with ease of maintenance. There are no added costs for transportation, and yet the raw area is able to be separated from the processing area where we now find ourselves. From this expansion hopper that receives the mixture, the input material moving to the next operation is dispensed. In the cooker, the fish byproduct is subjected to a temperature exceeding 130 degrees C for a minimum period of 20 minutes. In order to extract the animal oil, all the material obtained from the cooker passes through this sieve, where the first separation of solid and liquid takes place. The screw conveyors again guide the solid particles to the pressed area, where the product is left with a humidity below 50%. Here the second separation occurs. The liquid part is then stored in the homogenizer tank. As a result, proper feeding of the decanters is achieved. The third and final separation takes place in these machines. The liquid part goes directly to the storage of the oil. Meanwhile, the solid material is guided to the continuous dryer on tubular discs, where the product is dehydrated. The solid material is again subjected to high temperatures until the final humidity required by the quality department is achieved, between 8 and 10% in the final product. The entire process is controlled automatically by a computer located in the control room, loaded with a relevant program, which automatically manages the entire production process. Once dehydrated, the temperature of the resulting byproduct must be reduced in the cooler, and before milling, it goes through the metal detector separator to remove any debris. Precisely in this mill, all the material processed is reduced to meal, fish in this case. The particle size is determined by the customer himself. Storage takes place in these silos of 100 cubic meters each, with an automatic unloading system. For final transport, there is a system available for bulk unloading and another for transport in big bags, closed and sealed. They are loaded on large trucks. In this other plant in the Seville town of Marchena, Procavi slaughters 40,000 turkeys a day, arriving in trucks from farms throughout Andalusia. These facilities have their own rendering plant, where feather, flesh and blood is processed in 3 different production lines. It produces 35 tons of meat meal, 12 tons of feather meal, and 1.5 tons of blood meal and 15 tons of fat each day. For feather meal, 34 tons of this byproduct is processed in a discontinuous or batch system each day, initially unloaded into the receiving hopper. The material is then transported by the screw conveyors to the batch cookers, where it is subjected to a hydrolysis process. Pressure and temperature is applied in these machines for a given time, parameters all fixed by regulations. The resulting material is then transported to the following process. The tubular dryer discs. Here the feather is dehydrated to reach the parameters set by the manufacturer, usually between 8 and 10% humidity. The resulting meal passes through a three-phase vibrating separator, separating foreign elements, fine elements already processed into the meal, and finally the material for milling, which reaches the mill. Once milled to the desired size, the resulting meal is carried to the air storage silos, where it is stored for its release to the market. The meat line processes 120 tons of byproduct per day from the slaughterhouse in a continuous system. The whole process starts in the raw material hopper and once ground is guided by the lamella pump and their corresponding screw conveyors to the continuous cooker AR140 model with a processing capacity of 6 tons per hour. It empties to a trickling trommel where a first separation between liquid and solid phase is provided. The solid is guided by screw conveyors to the presses to perform a second separation of materials. Solid materials then move to the mill for further grinding. Skilled operators perform a continuous sampling and quality is verified on a permanent basis. The entire production process is handled automatically from the control room. Once the solid part is pressed and crushed, it is stored in bulk in air silos. Meanwhile, the fat obtained, both from the drum and the press, is guided to the decanter for refining. The oil obtained is stored in these storage tanks awaiting sale. The third and last mill production line processes 12 tons of blood from the slaughterhouse in a continuous system. The blood is treated in a coagulator, which coagulates it by live steam. From there, it is transferred to a decanter where the liquid phase is separated from the solid. The liquid is processed in a purification system, while the solid passes into a disc dryer for final dehydration. To turn it into meal, it is then passed through a mill which leaves the particles at the required size. Finally, it is transported for its final storage, either in silos or big bags. This plant is equipped with an air condenser to handle loaders, which treats both vapors from processing and ambient air in the facility.